Well, we've got to start this morning in a state of utter confusion after last night's address to the nation by Boris Johnson. His speech created more questions than answers.
And the answers seem to change every half hour.
You should go to work if you can't work from home.
For those who can't work from home, thinking particularly the construction, the manufacturing sectors, we are encouraging them to go back to work actively now. That won't start until Wednesday.
The Prime Minister said yesterday in his address that people could go back to work if they couldn't work from home. We have now been told by the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, on a different channel, that that instruction wasn't for today, it was for Wednesday. Isn't that example alone proof of the confusion of the address?
In step 2, at the earliest by June the 1st, after half-term, we believe we may be in a position to begin the phased reopening of shops and to get primary pupils back into schools, in stages, beginning with reception, year 1 and year 6.
Yeah, let's talk about this, this going back to schools. This is reception and years 1 and year 6. And so let's take the younger there of that plan, 4 to 5-year-olds. How are they supposed to know how to be socially distant?
This is my Chester, and I'm telling you, there is no way he would be able to socially distance himself 2 metres from his best friend Arthur.
So how can
it's just not going to happen.
The problem that again, I thought we closed schools because children were viewed as super spreaders of the disease. As far as I can work out, after 7 weeks of lockdown, the only thing we've really achieved directly with COVID-19 is we've stopped the NHS being overrun. We don't have a vaccine, we don't have a cure, we don't have readily available tests, despite the Orwellian language of Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary. So with so many of those things going on, I keep thinking, when you reopen schools, you create super spreaders, again, little pint-sized super spreaders, and all the problems we were warned about at the back end of February and March as we headed into this nightmare are still existent. Nothing has changed.
The most recent piece of confusion is whether you can see your parents, because it now seems that you are being asked to choose between your mother and your father. Initially, the government said that you could only see one of them, which makes no sense whatsoever. And then the First Minister, Dominic Raab, said on the Today Show earlier that you could see 2 parents. Now they've gone back and said that you can only see 1.
Well, we'd like to have heard from the government themselves, but they have decided not to speak to ITV today, both ourselves and GMB. Dominic Raab, he went on to say, if, for example, you're going to the park and you want to, you can stay 2 metres apart. You could meet up with another member of your own household. But surely you've been...
Well, government sources then said that Mr Raab had misspoke, and he meant to say that only members of the same household can all go to the park together. I mean, you literally couldn't write this. You couldn't write this. If this was in a farce on the telly, I'd go, that's a bit far-fetched. No government would arse it up that much.
OK, can I go and see my 2 sons I haven't seen in 10 weeks? Can I go and see them today and maintain 2 metre distance, yes or no?
As far as I would be concerned, I do not speak for the government. As long as you maintain social distancing in what you do, that will not allow
This is the problem, Andrew Bridgen. You see, what you've just said is completely against the new rules, as stated. So there you are, a Conservative Member of Parliament who thinks you know exactly what Boris Johnson has been saying, and yet you've just told me to do something I'm not allowed to do. So this is the problem, isn't it? There is no clarity. It's a load of old flannel talking about controlling the virus, and you, as a leading, high-profile Conservative politician, haven't got a clue about what these rules actually mean.
At the end of the 10-minute pre-recorded interview, I looked at my wife and I said it was like watching a Monty Python sketch where you were drawing up the most confusing, beguiling nonsense to feed out. And then you think, no, this is advice from our Prime Minister at the time of our greatest crisis in UK history. I'm totally with you guys, baffled, bamboozled, and actually very upset and angry.